It is Tuesday again, and I bring you greetings on this video from the church staff at Tucker First Methodist Church. For today, I want to give you a little bit of information and update on some things that we are looking at this point, and this is dealing primarily with some of the latest information out about the COVID-19 cases and what impact that might have on considerations that we have in resuming in-person gatherings. The general thing that I want to say is that rather than looking at a particular date for when we might begin in-person gatherings, we are focusing more on the data. And I do want to address a few things about the data. First of all, we have been looking at things specific to Tucker First United Methodist Church, looking at our membership, and most of our membership resides in one of 5 zip codes. And we'll try to show you what those 5 zip codes are. Certainly one of those is here in Tucker, the 30084. One is in Stone Mountain, 30087. Lilburn 30047, and then there are 2 Atlanta zip codes, 30340 and 30345, and those 5 zip codes comprise the majority of our membership. We do have people from other zip codes, but those are the 5 predominant zip codes that we have. And so we are paying more attention to the data of what's going on in those 5 zip codes than we are some other data that is being presented on a regular basis. We think it's important to look at what's going on in the location where we are, our setting, our geographical boundaries here. And that's one of the things that we are paying a lot of attention to. As we look at the data related to those zip codes, what is it specifically that we are looking for? Well, one of the things in general that we have heard from the beginning and that we are still looking for is where there is a decline in the COVID-19 cases that is sustained for 2 weeks, for 14 days. And until that kind of decline takes place, our feeling is that we need to be very cautious about considering in-person gatherings, and we do not have plans to come back together in person until the data shows that there are declines that have been sustained for 2 weeks. And that's really what is guiding us right now in the conversations that we have. We are looking at trying to be prepared to come back together. There are plans and preparations that have to take place whenever we do get back together. We are looking at those every week, and I think that we are making progress so that whenever we feel that it's safe to come back together, that we will have everything lined up for that to take place. So a couple of things that I want to mention specifically. One, I mentioned the 5 zip codes, and I mentioned the general data that we're looking at with sustained decline for 2 weeks. There is one other thing that could greatly impact this. If a vaccine or some kind of treatment becomes available, that would impact the way that we are looking at this. But until there is a vaccine or a treatment that is available, we want to see a sustained decline, and that is guiding what our discussions are centered around at this point. Recently, there have been a few general things that have been taking place that you may have already seen these, but I do want to update you just a little bit. Last week, there was a noticeable change in things after almost 2 weeks of holding fairly steady in terms of the new cases of COVID-19. There began to be a spike late last week that is continuing to go on. And in looking at that, when I talk about a spike, specifically what I am referring to, there are graphs that are available that show the number of cases of COVID-19 each day, but rather than just looking at them on a day-by-day basis, There are also graphs that show a 7-day rolling average. For each day, they list the number of new cases for that day, but it also lists an average of the previous 7 days. And where you average 7 days together, it helps you to get a clearer picture of the trends that are going on. Last week, after almost 2 months of a holding steady without much decline or increase at all, there was a spike that went up to where on the 7-day rolling average, it was the fourth highest day that we have recorded, and that is continuing to this point. So there are things that are going on right now that look like it could be driving an increase in the number of cases. At the same time, that's not just something that's going on at a local level. If you look at the 5 states that surround Georgia, 4 of those 5 states have also seen spikes over the last week in their numbers of COVID-19 cases. 2 of those 4 states recorded their peak increase last week. So there are some things going on right now that we need to pay careful attention to. We had almost 2 months of holding at a zero increase. It was a fairly steady number for 2 months. But then something has happened recently that is driving a spike. I'm not sure exactly what all is behind that, but we know that we've had a 2-month period where what we were doing in the sheltering in place and observing social distancing was having an impact. And now it looks like as things are relaxed in some places, that could be causing spikes in the number of cases to take place, and we have to pay attention to that. As we get data, we are trying to make the very best decisions that we can based on the data that we have at the moment, and that is what is really driving all of the decisions that we are making. In addition to what we're seeing in terms of the number of cases increasing over the last week, there is one other bit of information that I want to share with you as well. A few days ago, there was some updated information that came out of the North Georgia Conference. We had already delayed our annual conference, which was scheduled for June, and that got pushed back to 2 days in August. And then late last week, there was some new information where that has changed once again. And the people responsible for putting together annual conference have said they don't feel like that they can safely do so over a 2-day period in August. And so now they have made the decision to go to a virtual annual conference instead of that being a live gathering. We have several delegates at annual conference here. I did send an email out to those individuals with that new information available. And if we get additional information about annual conference or anything else, we will try to make that available to our congregation. Right now, we continue to notice some things that show increases in the COVID-19 cases. That is a concern. We are paying attention to the data, and we are trying to make the very best decisions that we can based on the information that we have at any particular moment. This is proving to be a marathon that we are in, not a sprint. And for this marathon, we will continue to focus. Our primary objective is in what is involved in keeping people as safe as we can possibly do so. And with that, we are making plans for the time when we will be able to come back together. We are all ready for that to take place, but until the data supports that being able to be done safely, we will continue to shelter in and to encourage social distancing. On this week, I continue to ask you to focus on the things that will allow you to be safe, to keep other people safe, and continue to be in prayer for all of the things going on in our world. And until we can come back together in person, I pray that God will continue to bless you. I continue to ask you to keep me in your prayers, as I keep you in my prayers. God bless you this day, and as we get updated information on data, we will share that with our congregation. God bless you.